Cool. All right. Well, first update then is Umi. So there's been a lot going on in the Umi world, especially related to Stride. A couple of exciting updates. The first is there have been cap increases on Umi. So the ST Atom cap is going to 500,000 Atom, and the ST Osmo cap to 2 million Osmo. Um, I have not. I think these props have already passed. Summer, do you know off the top of your head? If not, I can take a quick look. Cool. I'll take a quick look, but I think they may have already passed. A couple of other exciting things going on. Stride is launching STUMI sometime very soon. So we're running through some tests and making sure everything is super smooth, as well as chatting with the UMI team. So that should be coming very soon. And finally, I heard Umi is launching a wallet, and I think Stride will be supported in this wallet. I just heard this from Riley about 5 or 10 minutes ago, so I don't have too many more details than that, but kind of an exciting update. I also heard I wasn't at the Umi Stride Spaces yesterday, but Riley and the Umi team did a Twitter Spaces, and apparently Umi is thinking about launching or migrating to interchain security. So that would be huge. I mean, right now the Atom economic zone, if Stride and Neutron both join, will be there'll be like the smart contracting chain, a liquid staking chain, but getting a lending chain in there would be really exciting. And I think Duality will also be putting up their props. So at that point, the Atom economic zone will have a DEX, a lending platform, a liquid staking chain, and a smart contracting chain, which would make for, I think, a really solid foundation. So lots of exciting stuff going on with Umi these days.
Oh, I have a question. Sorry, do you think you can define like what exactly is the Atom economic zone? Like what is that? What does that refer to generally at right now?
Oh yeah, that is a fantastic question. So the Atom economic zone is this idea of the Cosmos Hub, which provides interchain security, and all of the consumer chains, which are like the little children of the Cosmos Hub that provide services for really any chain in the interchain, but especially for each other within the Atom economic zone. So the idea is the Atom economic zone is the Cosmos Hub and all of the ICS consumer chains. So hopefully soon that'll be Neutron, Stride, and the Cosmos Hub, which will be sort of like the founding members. But if Umi, for example, and Duality also join interchain security, then all of these chains will have a strong incentive to work together, which is sort of like the spirit of IBC and Cosmos. I think it's like every chain does one thing really well, and they provide these services and support other chains. So that's sort of the idea behind it. It's like the Cosmos Hub provides security and also liquidity. So for example, Stride asked for 450,000 Atom to be LP'd in the Seven Atom pool. And then in return, these consumer chains, they generate fees which go back to the Cosmos Hub. So it's this like mutually beneficial relationship that kind of helps everyone in the interchain security zone.
Cool. That's super helpful for me. Yeah, because I feel like um it was just interesting to think of it as kind of like specifically like an economic zone because in my head when I think of Cosmos, like quote unquote internet of blockchains, I kind of imagine already like a network like this, but it really is like a commerce group if you narrow it down, like with ICS kind of at the core.
Yeah, totally. That's a great summary. Much more simply put than I said. Thanks for thanks for repeating it back. Uh, oh, and our next topic is Atom economic zone. So it's actually a great segue. Um, so yeah, I think we already talked about all this stuff. So I think a couple of other integrations related things that have been going on. ST Injective launched a couple weeks ago. There's an Astroport pool of ST INJ and INJ. It has, I think, around $2 million US of liquidity. So kind of waiting and seeing what other applications are built on Injective that might be able to tap into this ST INJ liquidity. But pretty interesting. there's a solid foundation there. So I guess like step one is launch STINJ. Step two is get STINJ and INJ to have deep liquidity, and then step three would be to build DeFi. And I think step three is sort of like where we're at with Injective right now. So kind of just waiting there, but very exciting ecosystem, and hopefully some cool applications are built there soon. On the Evmos side, ST Evmos has become sort of a centerpiece of the Forge DEX. Forge is a Uniswap v3 fork on Evmos. It's like sort of a public good DEX on Evmos. Uniswap v3 has concentrated liquidity, which means you can trade very efficiently, and LPs don't incur very much permanent loss. So it's harder to LP. You need sort of active market makers, but it requires much less liquidity for the same trading experience. And what's really exciting about Forge in particular is, so they have this Uniswap v3 fork, which has concentrated liquidity, and the base tokens are mostly LSTs, so they don't need incentives. So it makes the DEX much, it's much easier to sustain trading on such a DEX. That is pretty exciting. Another integration in the EVM world that we recently saw, I think this one actually kind of came from the community, which was really exciting to see, is Velocimeter. So Velocimeter is a DEX on Canto. I believe it is a solidly fork, although I haven't looked at the code to verify that. And there's about 500,000 US dollars of Statum Atom liquidity on Velocimeter. And what's interesting is they have this gauge voting mechanism. So incentives are updated weekly. And I think it is a VE system, a vote escrow system. So the way that it works is if you buy a certain token, I'm actually not sure what it's called off the top of my head, and then lock it up for a longer period of time, you're able to direct more incentives around. I need to get a little bit more familiar with Velocimeter. It's possible that someone here knows more about Velocimeter than I do right now. I know very little. So if so, maybe at the end of the call, you can correct me or give us some more information on that one. And the other big integration is Shade. So Shade is it's a suite of DeFi products on Secret Network. I think around $1 million of Silk, which is the stablecoin, and Shade's DeFi ecosystem has been minted so far. And this is all against ST Atom. So really interesting to see lots of stablecoins being minted from ST Atom. I think those are most of the integration updates.
Nice. Thanks for walking us through that. Yep. Is there anyone here that is familiar with Velocimeter? Is this like the first time you're hearing that word? What's the vibe? I've never heard of it before. First time. Cool. Nice. Sweet. That's cool that our integration with them is kind of like, or like, our relationship to them that's building is like kind of the start of people's introduction to that. I love that we can kind of like build that bridge for people to new projects.
Yeah, I feel like the most exciting thing that has happened in the past, like especially in the past month, has been other projects have started integrating ASCII tokens, really without like anyone on like the any of the core contributors even like knowing until after it happens. So someone, I think like Moons, pinged us about Velocimeter and was like, "Hey, there's like $500,000 of Statum on this like DEX on Canto," and we just had no idea. So it's been pretty incredible to see like kind of more bottom up adoption of SC tokens without really any of our involvement.
Yeah, totally. It must be like very rewarding to see like something that you created ultimately like kind of having a life of its own, that people are sort of like, oh, like our project already has a plan for how we're gonna utilize these ST tokens. Very cool.
Yeah, And I think like also kudos to you, Summer, and everyone else in the community. I think like the bottom up stuff mostly happens because um, uh, the SC token brand is strong, and we have like this big community that people can talk to. So yeah, I mean, I would say more kudos to you and everyone in the community than us on this one.
Well, thanks. I love this community. It's pretty strong, I would say. I would agree. I like our core group too. I like that. I like that every Thursday we have like a slightly larger group of people in these chats too. But it's like still the same familiar faces. You guys are really like what keeps things moving forward. So shout out. Should we talk about incentives a bit? I saw this on I don't know if you see this on our agenda, Aiden. This is something that Riley sent yesterday, but I'm not totally sure what this is referring to, but please enlighten me. Bootstrapping sustainability.
For sure. Yeah. Okay. So we the Stride Foundation posted a blog post on April 7th, and the theme is that Stride's incentive program was, I mean, it's large. So Stride's incentive program is about uh, 30, 30 or 31% of FTV. I need to go back and look at the tokenomics. But the point is, it's very large. But we also want it to be sustainable. And in particular, the incentive program is very front weighted. So lots of incentives were used at the beginning of Stride to kind of bootstrap liquidity and get Stride off the ground. But now that Stride has liquidity, I mean, if you look at like the single atom pool on osmosis, for example, I think it's the second largest pool right now. So it's really established. And the thinking is, well, if the pool is established and it already supports DeFi, like why should the incentive program be so large or so aggressive? Like it would maybe be better to wait and not use all of our incentives today, rather make the program last a little bit longer to make it more sustainable. And this will allow the pools to be around through the incentive program for a longer period of time. Until like maybe a more sustainable solution is. And there's like a big question mark, like what is the more sustainable solution? And there are like different things that I think are sort of in the experimentation phase today. So one example is LST focused exchanges, for example, Shade or Forge, because if you have concentrated liquidity and LSTs, maybe you don't need quite as many incentives. But there is sort of this problem still of like, if you have ST atom, then half of the tokens are still losing yield. So that's a trickier one to solve. But a solution to that might be something like protocol owned liquidity. So this is another one that has been really great to see because it's mostly come from the community sort of bottom up. On Evmos, for example, there was a proposal to bring a few million Evmos into Forge decks. So ST Evmos as a base pair. Some other chains have done this in other ways, and I've heard kind of whisperings in other communities of other chains that are thinking about this and are maybe going to do something with protocol and liquidity. So I think protocol and liquidity might be a solution to the incentive problem long term, but the honest truth is no one really knows yet. So we want to make this incentive program last as long as possible so that we have as many chances to experiment and figure out a sustainable model before it runs out, because that would be really unfortunate. If the incentive program ran out and we didn't have a sustainable model, everyone would be in a tough spot. So that's sort of the rationale behind why the incentives were reduced. And if you want like the gory details, you can go look at the blog. I think 3 or so blog posts ago, we talk about what the incentives were, what they will be, the nitty gritty of the breakdown.
Word. Thanks for breaking that down. Oh, and yeah, for those of you who might not be familiar with the program right now, Moon's just dropped it in the chat. This is our original blog post, so feel free to familiarize yourself with that. And if you do end up having more questions, you can always reach out to one of us or somewhere in the server, and we'll definitely break it down for you. And another question in the chat real quick. It says, the prop should go live on Cosmos Hub today. Which prop?
The prop should go live on Cosmos Hub today. I think the ICS prop is going live today, although I am not 100% sure. There's a bit of a complicated proposal process. So the ICS prop on Stride passed. Then we need a signaling prop on the Cosmos Hub. And then we need an executable prop on the Cosmos Hub to add ICS, as well as an executable community spend proposal. So this next one that I think LCS is talking about is the signaling proposal. I think it's going live today, but I'd need to check with John, who does a lot of our governance work. Yeah, I'll check with him now. Actually, I'll probably have an answer by the end of the call.
Interesting. Cool. What's the deal with Leap Wallet?
Yeah, great question. Leap's a really excellent wallet in Cosmos, and in particular, they added one feature that has been really exciting, which is in wallet liquid staking. So you can actually go into the Leap wallet and you can liquid stake your atom from within Leap. It's a really smooth flow, and they have a really strong team. I would really encourage everyone to go and try out Leap. Quite an excellent product. They also show some things like your ST token balances. I think they only show it on Stride, but they might show it across chains in the future. I know we've had some feature requests for this from the community, so kind of cool. Another wallet, while we're on the topic of wallets, this one's not related to Stride, but I saw the Cosmos Station wallet now supports swaps in wallet. So I think they hook into Osmosis on the back end. But anyway, I thought that was super cool because that's a feature that I've really wanted to see in Cosmos wallets for a long time. And I feel like it's kind of silly that it's taken so long. But yeah, you can go into Cosmos Station wallet and just do trades from within the wallet, which is super cool.
Do we have anything left on our minds about ICS? I know that this was kind of next on our list, but we kind of already touched on it. But if anyone's still thinking about it, if you have any leftover thoughts about it, Aiden, feel free to drop that for us.
Yep, nope, nothing else. And the final one, I'll just touch on briefly. LSM, it looks like LSM is going to pass, knock on wood. But the feedback on the Cosmos Hub so far for that one has been positive. So yeah, it's been good to see.
Wait, and can you just remind us what does the LSM actually implicate for? Once it passes, what is that going to enable?
Yeah, great question. The LSM does two things. One is it regulates liquid staking providers, so it puts a global cap on liquid staking at 25%. It's not a cap meant to be there forever. It's more of a safety check. Once we get to 25%, let's reevaluate and then raise it again. And it also allows for faster onboarding to liquid staking providers. So if you have staked Atom, you don't have to unbond them and wait 3 weeks and then onboard to Stride. You just click a button and then your staked Atom are onboarded to Stride and you get ST Atom in return. So it makes the onboarding flow much faster and better.
Awesome. What a dream. Cool. Well, let's we've got a couple questions in the chat, so let's yeah, if you guys have questions, please go ahead and share them now in the chat. I'm going to collect them for Aiden and I to walk through over the next few minutes. But yeah, drop them in the chat. We'll get to going. Aiden, I think our first question, if you see in our little AMA section, is how is Stride planning to engage in Neutron's community to increase the adoption of ST assets? Is there anything happening right now with Neutron?
Yeah, great question. Totally. So one thing that we'd like to do is we're going to put up the signaling proposal and request 450,000 Atom from the community pool. And this wouldn't be owned by Stride. The Atom would be owned by the Cosmos Hub. But half of the Atom would be liquid staked, and then the Atom and Satom would be LP'd on Neutron on Astroport on their DEX. And this would create a really solid foundation to build DeFi on top of Neutron using ST Atom. So this is one way we're looking to collab. We're also working with them on the airdrop. So Neutron is looking to airdrop to Atom holders. They'd also like to airdrop to ST Atom holders. So this is sort of another way that we're collaborating. Like ST Atom holders should get an NTRN airdrop if all goes well. It's not like totally in our hands. The Neutron team has to work on this, but yeah, that would be exciting. And we're going to meet up with their team in person later today. So hopefully that all goes well, and next week we'll have an update on how the meetings between our team went. But we're going to see them live today, so we've actually never met them before IRL, so it'll be fun.
Wow, that is fun. Yeah, it is funny to think that like you're kind of in this like random position right now where you can see all these people in person. I love that about I haven't like been to very many crypto events or anything, but I remember Cosmoverse was so cool because all these faces from the internet, all these little like pictures and icons that people have. I saw like real human faces attached to them. It was so funny to like break the third wall that is the internet or something. But yeah. Also, someone in the chat was asking real quick, how does Stride differ from Quicksilver? John on our team wrote this awesome overview and comparison of Cosmos liquid staking providers. So you can go through if you want, check out this doc or check out this blog. This should do a little bit of a breakdown for you, but if you have more detailed questions, we'd love to describe a bit more what sets us apart. But Cosmoverse was great. I agree with that. We've got another question though. Someone's asking, any plan or ambitions on DYDX?
Totally. Yeah, so we've talked to our team a few times. I think ST-DYDX would be very cool. Super early stages, so not much we really have to say about it yet. But I've heard they're launching, sometime before end of year in 2023. And yeah, we'd love to support ST-DYDX. Maybe we need to explore like what some of the use cases of ST-DYDX could be. But I think it'd be a super, super cool integration. So definitely yes.
Awesome. Thanks for that. And then we just have one more question left for that people have shared. So guys, last call, drop your questions in the chat. But we have the question is, what's the vision on moving Stride assets across to Ethereum? What does that look like? How can that be possible?
Yeah, so the main way to move assets from Cosmos to Ethereum and back, you need to use a bridge. There are a couple of bridges live today. So the main two that I'm aware of are Axelar and Gravity Bridge. Axelar, I think, has the majority, like 80 to 90% of the flows between Cosmos and Ethereum. Axelar already supports STRD and ST Atom today. So it actually is possible to bridge. I'm curious what you all think. I think there would need to be integrations on the Ethereum side that provide demand to bridge Stride and ST Atom over. There's one that I've heard about. I'm not sure if we can mention it yet. I think it might still be there might still be some stuff happening behind the scenes, but we'll definitely keep you posted, and I'll check in with the team and see if we can talk about the one that I'm aware of. But there's definitely some things in the works to get ST Atom spread throughout the Ethereum ecosystem.
Cool. Yeah, it is pretty exciting to think about that. I feel like Ethereum is so flashy, it's a name everyone recognizes. So it'd be cool if we were able to bring more of our ST assets over there. I do see a really interesting question in the chat that I've also been thinking about a bit lately. They say on the last FireStride Chat, we mentioned that Lido and other ETH LSDs are coming to the Cosmos. How much of a competitive threat is this? is there any indication of when that's happening, and what's the game plan to beat them? What what are your thoughts on this, Aiden? What can we tell our friends out here?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I could see this question meaning two things. One is like Ethereum LSDs coming to Cosmos, so like STE being bridged to Cosmos. On that one, I actually think that assets mostly they do best within their own ecosystems. So like if STE came to Cosmos, I'm sure it would see some adoption. But I think ST Atom is always going to be king in Cosmos. That's at least the current view. Definitely open to changing this view, but Atom has a lot of advantages over Ethereum and Cosmos, mainly that it's IBC native and it's always on the forefront of IBC integration. So there's all these things you can do with Atom that maybe would be harder to do with ETH and Cosmos. And then there's maybe a different angle here, which is like if Lido comes to Ethereum, or sorry, if Lido comes to Cosmos and decides to launch ST Atom, how could Stride or other protocols compete with them? I think at Stride, the main thing that we're focused on is providing really excellent liquid staking tokens within the Cosmos ecosystem. And in particular, Stride, I think, is very IBC and Cosmos native. So I think right now the main thing that is important for Stride is that it is positioned well if Lido does come to Cosmos. And one aspect of that positioning is interchain security. So by creating a strong security and economic relationship with Atom, I think Stride positions itself quite well. The other thing that I think Stride can do pretty well is because it's a chain rather than a set of contracts. And my guess is Lido would build contracts instead of the full chain. Is Stride can support sort of like the most cutting edge security features and IBC features. And this allows Stride to move both very fast. For example, like we've launched 7 LSTs so far, and we're probably going to launch maybe 10 more this year. So we can move fast, but we can also be highly secure. And one example of like a feature we're working on right now, which I think would be impossible to do for a smart contract, is we're going to add checks before and after every transaction on Stride to make sure that something like an infinite mint bug hasn't occurred. And the reason you can't do this with a smart contract is because smart contracts don't have access to the lower level variables on chain. So I think there are some safety, UX, and integration advantages that Stride has, but yeah, that's maybe the TLDR. Stride needs to be positioned very well to win ST Atom, and I think it's positioned very well right now with a strong economic and security relationship that it has hopefully soon with the Cosmos Hub, and also these like sort of this like suite of better UX and security features that Stride can support.
Awesome. That's super exciting. And it's cool to kind of have like it's cool to have like a sort of more specific way of differentiating us from Lido. I feel like I know that that's been something that we've, in general, like we want to be strategic about with our competitors, but it's just cool to think about like, there's so many different ways to accomplish like a really strong liquid staking protocol. And like, I think the way that we're doing it is like really cool. I like our full chain, no contracts principles. But yeah. All right, guys. I'm seeing some sweet thank yous in the chat, and that tells me that we've come to the close of our awesome fireside chat. Aiden, any final thoughts before we say goodbye to folks for the day and before you go off into Austin?
None for me. Thank you so much for hosting, Summer, and thanks for all the great questions.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you, guys. All right. Have a great week. We'll see you next time. Next week is our community call too, so be there next Friday. Details to come.